Hello everyone, my name is Dekoba and welcome back to Satisfactory. Today we're going to be designing and building a rotor factory, which is one of the last major components we're going to need to finish out what I consider the early game, that's tiers 1 and 2. These rotors are going to allow us to build our smart plating space elevator parts, as well as being a buildable that we'll use throughout the game for assemblers, water extractors, coal power plants, and many other buildings. Now after we finish our rotor factory, we'll build an assembler to process some of our rotors, as well as some of our reinforced iron plates, into smart plating, which is our space elevator part, which will allow us to transition into the next stage of the game. We'll finish the episode by constructing the space elevator and sending off that package of smart plating, which will open up tiers 3 and 4 for us. Let's get into it. Alright, now we don't have any alternate recipes for the rotor itself, and the rotor recipe requires rods and screws. Now, 20 iron rods per minute is a pretty straightforward thing to produce. That'll use 20 iron ingots and be produced in 2 constructors. The screws are a little bit more interesting. They're going to require 100 per minute, and we're currently still using Mark 1 belts, which only allow 60 per minute. So we'll need to complete the Logistics Mark 2 milestone in order to unlock the Mark II belts, which allow up to 120 items per minute. Now those use the reinforced iron plates as a belt component. It's one of the reasons I wanted to build that factory first, so that we'd be able to use them as part of this build. Now, as for the production of screws, we can either produce them from iron rods or use the cast screw alternate recipe to produce them directly, and I believe that is what we're going to do. If we take a look at that recipe, you can see that uses 12.5 ingots to produce 50 screws per minute, so we'll need 2 constructors using that. As far as the layout of the factory goes, I quite like the linear layout that we used for our reinforced iron plates, so I think we're going to duplicate that, both to make sure that this factory has a sort of homogeneous style with the things it produces, so that each part of it sort of looks and works the same way, but also because it fits nicely in the space we have allotted and shows the full production chain in a very clear and easy to understand manner. Similarly to this factory producing the reinforced iron plates, we'll be taking iron from beneath, smelting that into iron ingots, and sending that into a series of constructors. The only real difference is that we'll have 4 constructors instead of 3. As a quick aside, there is one additional component that I want to set up production for, and that is copper sheeting. Copper sheeting is going to be produced over as part of our copper factory, over at the far end of the factory. This is simply a single constructor that will feed off of our already existing mining and smelting lines and allow us to make better use of that. Copper sheeting is going to be a big component going forward in the game, so I wanted to start producing those early so we'll have plenty to use at a later time. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump into the build. All right, and that is a rotor factory all complete. We start out by gathering some iron ore from downstairs and sending that up through a conveyor lift and up into 2 smelters where it gets turned into iron ingots. Those iron ingots are then sent into 4 constructors. The first 2 constructors are producing screws with the cast screw alternate recipe, and the next 2 are producing iron rods. The iron rods and screws then go into an assembler where it's turned into rotors. Those rotors then are sent down a conveyor line into storage, although right now we are splitting half of them off, as well as half of our reinforced iron plates, into another assembler where they are being turned into smart plating. That is the space elevator component we need to finish this here. And I think that takes us to our final task for today, which we will do in the form of another time lapse, and that is to construct the space elevator. Now, as we get into that, I'd like to thank you for spending a few minutes with me here today in the world of Satisfactory. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you have, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. My name is Ben Dekoba, and I hope you have an efficient day.